Back in late 2019, on a bustling university campus in Seoul, South Korea, a story began to unfold that would challenge everything students thought they knew about shared living. For 23-year-old Songmin, a computer science student in his final semester, the pressure was unbearable. He had spent countless sleepless nights juggling intense coursework, part-time jobs, and looming job interviews, all while trying to secure a place to live. Songmin's previous living arrangement fell apart suddenly when his roommate transferred to another university. Left with no notice and dwindling options, he faced the harsh reality of winter break with nowhere to go. The Seoul housing market was brutal. Tiny studios rented for prices that far exceeded his modest income from convenience store shifts. Desperation crept in. He scrolled endlessly through listings on his phone, eyes blurred from too many late nights. Apartments were either way above budget or snapped up by earlier planners. He felt the creeping weight of failure, as if this one problem might unravel all the years of hard work. Then a flicker of hope appeared, a post on the university housing board. A 2-bedroom apartment just a 10-minute walk from campus, rent split between roommates, cutting costs in half. The contact was Erin, a quiet student who seemed to value peace and privacy, exactly what Songmin needed. No meeting was necessary. She said he could move right in, with the key left in a lockbox. The building was old but tidy, a typical dorm-style complex inhabited by hard-working students. The apartment itself was modest but clean. Songmin, clutching his meager belongings, a few clothes, textbooks, and his laptop, stepped inside. Relief washed over him like warm sunlight through the frosted windows. This place could be his refuge to survive senior year. Yet beneath his hope lurked an unsettling quiet that would soon grow into something far darker. For the first week, everything seemed almost too perfect. Songmin kept to his strict schedule: wake early, attend demanding classes, struggle through senior projects, and return home in the evening to study. The apartment was silent except for faint sounds coming from Erin's side, soft key taps, pages turning. It was the respectful roommate situation he'd dreamed of. Yet Songmin noticed something strange. He had never actually seen Erin. There were no accidental meetings in the hallway, no shared food in the kitchen, not even a glimpse as she moved quietly behind her door. At first, he shrugged it off. Students often kept different hours. But as the days passed, oddities crept in. Those mechanical, repetitive sounds from her room never changed, like a loop playing endlessly. The fridge contents never varied. The same rice, the same instant noodles untouched. Several times, when he left notes about groceries or utilities, the notes vanished overnight, but no reply ever came. The footsteps in the hallway followed a strange, deliberate pattern. They moved slowly, always in the same direction, and on one evening he could swear they lingered just outside his door, standing still waiting. Songmin's heart raced at such moments, caught between exhaustion and suspicion. Sleep became elusive. Night after night, he lay awake listening, his mind spinning between rational explanations and creeping dread. Was Erin just extremely private? Or was something else hiding behind her silence, the ghost of a student caught between worlds, unwilling to leave? As the days turned into weeks, Songmin couldn't shake the growing unease settling deep in his chest. Each evening, his ears were drawn to the faint sounds behind Erin's door, sounds that felt both familiar and unsettling. What had first been a mild curiosity now consumed his thoughts. How could someone live here without ever crossing paths with him? The footsteps in the hallway became a strange melody, playing the same slow, deliberate tune each night. It was as if an invisible presence was tracing a path only it knew. Songmin's mind raced, cycling between rational explanations and creeping dread. Was it just a quiet roommate, or something else? At university, his concentration wavered. His senior project, once a source of pride, now felt unreachable amid the swirl of distractions. He asked classmates if they knew Erin, but their blank expressions only added to his isolation. No one seemed to have seen or heard from her. It was as if she was a ghost of the campus itself. One freezing evening, Songmin came home earlier than expected. The apartment was unnervingly silent, no familiar rustle or murmur from Erin's room. Then the whisper hit him, his name, soft, haunting, echoing through the empty space. Songmin! Songmin! A cold shiver ran down his spine. Time seemed to stop. His heart drummed loudly in his ears as he scanned every shadowed corner, half hoping, half fearing what he might find. Was he imagining things? The doubt only fed his terror. Determined to uncover the truth that haunted his nights, Songmin waited for a moment when he was sure the apartment was empty. His feet felt heavy as he approached Aaron's door, each step echoing his pounding heart. He knocked gently, then louder. No answer. Tentatively, he reached for the door handle, expecting resistance, but it turned easily. The door swung open with a soft creak, revealing a cold, barren room. No furniture, no books, no signs of life, just thick layers of dust that muffled even the faintest sound. The stale air clung to his skin, heavy and unforgiving. His gaze snapped to the far wall, where jagged red letters covered the surface, smeared like dried blood, repeating desperate phrases over and over. "Why did you leave me alone? Come back. Don't leave. I'm still here." A wave of nausea and fear forced him to stagger backwards. The puzzle pieces clicked into place, the mechanical sounds, the unaffected fridge, the vanishing notes, the footsteps, the whispering. Songmin's breath hitched as he pulled out his phone and dialed the building management. His voice trembled as he asked about Aaron. The chilling revelation tore through him like a punch. No Aaron was registered as a tenant. The last occupant, Park Aaron, had died by suicide in that very room 3 years ago, during exam season. The phone dropped from his hand. His sanctuary had become a prison of shadows. Without a second thought, Songmin fled the apartment. He didn't look back. The days that followed Songmin's terrifying discovery blurred into one long, sleepless nightmare. Each moment spent in the apartment felt heavier than the last, with unseen eyes pressing down upon him. The heavy silence of the rooms no longer felt peaceful, it crushed his spirit. The relentless pressure of senior year collided with the unshakable terror of his haunted home. Songmin found himself wandering through the dimly lit apartment long after midnight, unable to sleep. The eerie quiet was punctuated only by strange creaks and whispers, the very air feeling thick and suffocating. His thoughts spiraled, memories of the bloodstained messages scrawled on Aaron's wall swirling in a haze of fear and fascination. What suffering had she endured? How had her presence become so woven into the cold, musty walls? Determined to understand what haunted him, Songmin began to dig deeper into Aaron's past. He spoke quietly with professors and fellow students, almost afraid to utter her name aloud. The more he learned, the clearer the tragic story became. A brilliant but fragile young woman overwhelmed by academic pressure and loneliness, whose life ended tragically during exam season years earlier. The revelation added layers to his growing dread. This was not just a ghost story, but a sorrowful human tragedy frozen in time. At home, the apartment seemed to pulse with an invisible life of its own. The temperature fluctuated wildly, plunging to bitter cold in isolated spots that no heater could warm. Objects shifted subtly in the night. His textbooks rearranged, a coffee mug slowly moved, notes mysteriously vanished. The mechanical sounds persisted, like a broken recording playing endlessly in the background. One night, after a grueling day battling terminal exhaustion and anxiety, Songmin arrived home earlier than usual. The apartment was unnervingly still, but the faintest sounds met his ears. Tiny footsteps pacing the hallway, the barely perceptible rustling of curtains in a draft. A chill crept up his neck as the eerie sensation of being watched wrapped around him like a frosty cloak. Approaching his bedroom door, he noticed a strange and unsettling glow from the bathroom. Hesitating only a moment, he pushed open the door. The room was empty, but the mirror told a different story. Written faintly in the condensation was a message that sent his blood cold. "Don't forget me. I'm still here." Shaking, Songmin staggered back as the crushing reality set in. The apartment was no longer merely haunted. It was a prison of grief, a tomb where sorrow had been etched into every corner and shadow. That night became a turning point. The desperate need for stability and safety clashed violently with the undeniable truth that his home was a vessel for someone else's anguish. His efforts to focus on schoolwork faltered. His senior project slipped away as shadows swallowed his concentration. The haunting presence sapped his strength and willpower. With trembling hands, Songmin began packing, gathering only the essentials, a few clothes, his laptop, the last fragile remnants of normalcy. The cold air outside promised freedom, but also the unknown. As he crossed the threshold for the last time, he felt the weight of unseen eyes follow him down the hallway. He fled without a backward glance, heart pounding, breath ragged. The ghostly murmurs trailed behind him, soft footsteps, whispered pleas. For closure or for company, he could not tell. The apartment was sealed off weeks later, officially due to structural concerns. But the campus community whispered a different truth. Some rooms are never truly empty. Some souls never truly leave. And for Songmin, sometimes, in the quiet solitude of his new apartment, he swears he hears that low mechanical tapping, the distant echo of a roommate who never moved out. The days after Songmin fled the haunted apartment blurred into a strange, sleepless haze. Nights spent on friends' couches, in crowded library corners, or pacing the streets of Seoul, were filled with a sense of rootless displacement, a feeling that whatever haunted him in apartment 4B might never truly let him go. But the city, noisy and full of neon light, couldn't drown out the memories that had burrowed deep into his mind. Sometimes, when dusk slipped over the rooftops and the distant hum of traffic faded, Songmin felt the cold chill of those pale, ghostly footsteps echo again, as if a shadow was stitching itself to him just out of sight. He tried to lose himself in routine, waking at dawn, grabbing coffee at nearly empty convenience stores, forcing himself through the rituals of senior year. He threw himself into his studies, pouring hours into assignments he hoped might win him a job far from memories of what had happened. But as the weeks passed, Songmin realized he hadn't truly left the apartment at all. Something dark and mournful clung to him, its edges scraping against the weak barriers of sleep and daylight. During job interviews with big-name engineering firms, rooms full of sharp suits, bright lights, and polite, impersonal smiles, Songmin felt the tiniest presence hovering at the edge of his vision. A whisper, a cold breath on his neck, a flicker in the fluorescent lights. Was it simply exhaustion, or had he carried a splinter of Aaron's despair with him into the world outside? It became clear the haunting was not limited by walls or addresses. One rainy evening, after a particularly difficult exam, Songmin sat on a bench in a deserted subway station, watching streams of water chase each other along the concrete. He closed his eyes, trying to summon peace, when a single, soft mechanical tap rang out behind him. A chill ran through his body, memories of the apartment flooding back, thick with the smell of dust and old sorrow. He turned, but like always, there was nothing there. Haunted, he reached out to old friends. At first, he spoke of ordinary stress, a failed housing situation, final exams, the pressure of adulthood. No one suspected the truth. But one night, as he lay awake on a borrowed mattress, he confided the whole story to his closest friend and fellow student, Hyori. Her face, lit by blue phone glow, was first skeptical, then deeply disturbed. She told him stories of campus legends, of rooms other students had fled, of the chilling rumor that some tragedies left marks never to be washed away. Together, they scoured online forums, reading threads about supernatural occurrences, empty rooms, unexplained noises, names written where no living soul should dwell. Songmin realized with growing horror that he was not alone in his suffering. Apartment 4B had cycled through other tenants before him, each escaping with a story they swore never to repeat. The more Songmin read, the more he understood. Grief could warp a place, and a soul desperate for company might never let go. That realization brought a strange comfort and an even stranger resolve. The only way out was through, to face the memory head-on and find a way to break its hold. Late one night, Songmin and Hyori returned to the building. Shivering, flashlight in hand, Songmin felt the cold, instinctive terror rise again as he stepped into the silent hallway. Apartment 4B stood sealed, a thick metal lock fixed to the door. But the air was icy, and the sound of muffled tapping seemed to seep through even the steel barrier. They spent hours talking quietly, burning incense and whispering words of hope. Songmin read aloud the story of Erin's life, her brilliance, her struggles, her quiet beauty. He set down a small memorial, a folded origami crane, in the hallway, as a promise that her pain was seen, if not fully understood. For the first time in months, something shifted. The hallway air warmed, the whispers faded. Songmin felt both heavy and light, a grief shared, but also finally set in motion toward healing. Moving on was not easy. Even in a new apartment, Songmin still heard faint echoes now and then, soft steps at midnight, the distant click of keys. But he knew they were only echoes, and he had learned the hard lesson that some shadows linger, but do not need to define his life. He threw himself into his career, landed a promising job, and slowly built a life with new friends, new beginnings. Sometimes, on long winter nights, he told the story of Erin to those he trusted, not for the drama, but so she was never truly forgotten. And if one evening, in the stillness, he felt a rush of cold air or heard a gentle whisper in the quiet, he would smile softly, knowing he was not alone. Not anymore, not in sorrow, not in hope. Apartment 4B remained sealed, a campus legend for new students trading ghost stories late at night. But Songmin understood. The real haunting was not the ghost, but the pain left behind and the courage it took to keep living. After months of running from the haunting memories of Apartment 4B, Songmin finally found a fragile peace in the quiet corners of his new life. But peace came at a cost, a constant battle to hold on to reality when shadows still danced at the edges of his vision and whispers lingered just beyond hearing. The scars left by Aaron's presence were etched deeply into his soul. One evening, Songmin met Hyori at a small, dimly lit cafe tucked away from the bustling streets. The murmur of other voices, the clinking of cups, and the faint scent of roasted coffee beans filled the room, providing a refuge from the chilling silence he carried with him. He stared into his lukewarm drink, tracing circles on the ceramic surface with a shaky finger. "Do you think she's really gone?" Songmin's voice barely rose above a whisper. Hyori looked up, her eyes soft and understanding. "It's hard to say, but maybe letting go isn't about forgetting, it's about accepting." He nodded slowly. "Sometimes I hear the tapping again. Not just in that apartment, sometimes even here in the middle of the city." A small smile played at the corner of Hyori's lips. "Maybe she's just trying to remind you she's still here in some way. Maybe that's her goodbye." They sat in silence, the words floating in the warm air between them. Later that week, the campus held a small memorial service under a blooming cherry blossom tree, planted near the sealed building that housed Apartment 4B. Songmin stood among a group of students, clutching a single white flower, his heart heavy with unspoken words. "This isn't just about a ghost," he whispered to Hyori. "It's about the people we forget, the silence where their stories disappear." Hyori nodded. "And the promise we make to keep those stories alive." The soft petals drifted down in the gentle spring breeze, and Songmin felt a profound stillness settle over him. A promise bloomed inside, fragile yet undeniable, to live fully, to honor those who could not. Days slipped by, and Songmin found himself thrown into the pulse of a new job, bright lights, humming computers, and the endless flow of data. It was a world away from the claustrophobic shadows of the apartment, but even here the past whispered. Late one night, as he sat alone in the office, poring over codes and designs, a cold draft brushed his neck. The lights flickered and then steadied. A faint tapping echoed from an empty corner. His breath caught. For a moment, the office transformed into a liminal space, the thin veil between present and memory. He shook his head, trying to ground himself in reality. He picked up his phone and saw a message from Hyori. "Thinking of you. How are you holding up?" With a tired smile, he typed back, "Better. Every day a little better." His journey to healing was far from complete. Ghosts rarely vanish with a single farewell. But Songmin had learned to carry them not as burdens, but as part of his story, shadows shaping the light ahead. One evening, he shared all of it, the fear, the pain, the flickering hope, with a small group of close friends. The room was quiet except for the heavy breaths and the crackling fire in the hearth. "I was so alone," he admitted, "lost and afraid. But I'm learning, the ghosts that follow us don't have to define us." His friend Jisoo reached over, squeezing his hand. "You didn't just survive. You turned the darkness into your story. That's incredible." Songmin's eyes glistened in the dim light. "It's not over, not really. But now I see the way forward." That night, as the city slept, Songmin stood at his window looking out over Seoul's glowing skyline. The wind whispered around the glass, carrying the faintest echo of tapping, an old, familiar rhythm. He whispered back, a tiny smile touching his lips. "Thank you for trusting me." And somewhere beyond the night, the tapping answered once more.